Hi there, it's a new week. This is Colin Adler-Ruane along with State Director Angie Lauritsen. We're with Nebraska for Us, and we're here to talk today about what still needs to pass in Congress. Angie, there's a lot going on. As always, at the same time, very little is being passed. Uh, August recess is coming up. Members of Congress are going to be back home, not only here in Nebraska, but across the country. And so not only is there a ticking clock there, but there's also one in terms of when government funding runs out, when other pieces of legislation expire and need to be renewed. A lot going on. So I'll hand it over to you so you can talk a little bit about what people need to know and what we're kind of keeping our eye on.
Yeah, so thank you, Colin. It's going to be a busy week this week. So we have been watching some really important legislation and things that we're hoping does start to move through Congress. And so obviously we are under the gun basically for government funding. So current government funding runs out on September 30th. And we have about 15 working days for House members in order to get that done. So what we're hearing is that Speaker Johnson is looking to do a continuing resolution that will come up for the first week in November, so to get on the other side of election. And so we're kind of looking for that to be brought up and for them to be passing that within this time frame, so before the end of September. One of the other things that we're kind of watching too is Reconciliation 3.0. We talked about this before, but the president was doing a live shot late last week talking about the SAVE Act. And so we know that the SAVE Act is actually holding up some of the legislation from passing and doing some and being attached to different legislation within that budget resolution. So we'll see. We'll be watching that and monitoring that this week as they continue those conversations and those four bills move off to those committees in order to then reach the floor for a vote. So one of the other things we're kind of watching is the Farm Bill. Obviously, being in Nebraska, the Farm Bill is kind of important because it creates some certainty for our farmers moving forward throughout the year, but the House passed their version. And so it's over in the Senate side of things. And so it is working through the process over there. But some of the things that we have been hoping would happen with that Farm Bill is we can reverse some of the SNAP cuts that happened within the One Big Beautiful Bill last year. So we know that so many people are starting to lose SNAP access and food access. Because of that, SNAP is funded through the Farm Bill. So looking at that, some of the other things that we would love to not see taken out or stripped out of that Farm Bill would be supports for regenerative agriculture. That's a big topic here within the state of Nebraska. Obviously, watching what they're going to do with the pesticide and the safety oversight of pesticides. So that's all kind of the conversations that are happening around the Farm Bill in the Senate. We're also watching the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act. That does not fund actual dollars, but it does tell how defense dollars are supposed to be spent. So there's a lot of different policy within the NDAA. It is typically a pretty bipartisan policy that gets passed pretty, almost, I think it has passed every single year for over 30 some years. And so this is kind of the first year that it's been held up by some of the different things that they're looking to pull from that or to add in to the NDA. So SAVE Act is another one of those things that they've been trying to attach to the NDA because they know it's a must pass legislation piece. And so that one piece of legislation keeps holding up some of these other important things. And so the Senate had a bunch of confirmation hearings last week. They'll continue into this week, and so one of those is for national intelligence. And so FISA Section 702 is also something that is important to a lot of people to make sure that we have those capabilities. However you feel about that, that is another piece of legislation, and that is being held up by some of these confirmation hearings and getting new leadership within some of those different departments. So there's a lot going on. We will be back this week as things start to come up, start to happen. It's just going to be a really busy week. Then the House is off for 5 weeks, and then they're back in session for 4 weeks before government shuts down. So just know that there's some fly-in days where there's really nothing that happens on those first days of the week. And so they have to get the government funded, or a budget bill needs to be passed, or so that we can keep the government open through the end of the year, hopefully. And so we'll be looking for a lot of that stuff to start happening this week.
Seems we're governed by continuing resolution for ever and ever. Just a couple things going on. Obviously, it's a little complicated. We're here to try and sort it all out for you and explain exactly what's going on. And we're going to continue doing that, not only this week, but throughout the coming weeks. During the August recess, there may be a lot of other developments that come out. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. It's hard for anyone to really predict what's going to come next, but we'll do our best to talk everyone through it and sort of help provide some of that context and that detail to help all of us kind of better understand what's going on. So we'll be back throughout the week, as Angie mentioned. This has been Angie Lauritsen and Colin Adler-Ruane from Nebraska for Us. We'll see you again soon.